मैं दूसरे फोन से करता हूँ, छोड़ दीजिए आप। मैं दूसरे फोन से करता हूँ, छोड़ दीजिए आप। Okay.
अरे यहाँ म्यूट कर रहे थे, आवाज ही म्यूट हो रही थी। म्यूट नहीं करना था। अपना माइक बंद करो तो अपने भी आवाज आ रही है ना। लाइव किस टाइप का दिखा रहा है कर सकते हैं। खाली यही पेश किया हुआ है ना आपने इसको बहुत शेयर में। आवाज आ रही है हमारी।
मैगी महोदय इदानीम्
आं श्रीमन्तः
प्रारम्भं कर्तुं शक्यते।
आं श्रीमन्तः। अनित्यमखिलं दुःख मनात्मेति प्रवादिने नमो बुद्धाय धर्माय संघाय च नमो नमः। नमः सभाभ्यः सभापतिभ्यश्च नमो नमः। अद्य त्रिविध पावन्याः वैशाख पूर्णिमायाः तिथि अस्ति। अवसरे अस्मिन् 2566 तमस्य बुद्ध जयन्ती समारोहस्य उपलक्ष्ये केन्द्रीय संस्कृत विश्वविद्यालये अद्य विविधाः कार्यक्रमाः आयोज्यमानाः सन्ति। प्रातः 9:00 धम्मपद संगायनं जातम्। इदानीम् एकविंश शताब्दे बुद्ध शासनं विश्व शान्तिश्च Buddhism and world peace in the 21st century इति इमं विषयम् अवलम्ब्य अंतरराष्ट्रीय वेबिनार संगोष्ठ्या अवसरः। क्रमे अस्मिन् संवेदानां भवतां सर्वेषां हार्दिकं स्वागतं वन्दनम् अभिनन्दनं च कुर्मो वयम्। कार्यक्रमस्य अस्य शुभारम्भः संस्कृत भाषया पाली भाषया च मंगलाचरणेन भविष्यति। अतः सर्वादौ संस्कृत मंगलाचरणस्य कृते आहूयते केन्द्रीय संस्कृत विश्वविद्यालयस्य लखनऊ परिसरस्य बौद्ध दर्शन विभागीया छात्रा सुश्री विजय कुमारी। संस्कृत मंगलाचरणस्य कृते
बुद्धं बोधेकमार्गं कुशलाबलमयं सर्वकारुण्यदर्शम् आमाग्निनाश्चर्यन्तं मूलं ध्यानमुद्रा प्रकृष्टम् आर्याष्टाङ्गैर्विभातं त्रिशरानसुखदं लोककल्याणदन्तं छिन्दन्तं पापमूलं भावातुरिताश्रमम् बोधिसत्वं नमः। बोधिसत्वं नमामि। बोधिसत्वं नमामि।
अतः परं पाली मंगलाचरणं भविष्यति। अस्य अनुष्ठानस्य कृते आहूयन्ते बौद्ध दर्शन विभागीयाः छात्रयः दिनाक्षी नेगी, सारिका रानी, जितन देवी, सोनम अंगो प्रभृतयः इदानीं पाली मंगलाचरणम् अनुष्ठातुम्।
तस्य भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धस्य नमो तस्य भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धस्य नमो तस्य भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धस्य इतिविसो भगवा अरहं सम्मा सम्बुद्धो विद्याचरण संपन्नो सुगतो विदो अनुत्तरो पुरुषधम्म सारथि तथा देव मनुस्कानम् बुद्धो भगवाति स्वाखातो भगवता धम्मो सन्निधिको अकालिको एहि पश्यतो ओपनेयो पश्चातं वेदिकपो वियोहीति सुपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावक्सङ्गो उच्चुपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावक्सङ्गो ज्ञानपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावक्सङ्गो समिज्जिपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावक्सङ्गो यदिदञ्चत्वारि पुरुषयुगानि अर्थपुरुषभुगला एषा भगवतो सावक्सङ्गो आहुन्नेयो बाहुन्नेयो दधीरेयो अंजलिकरणीयो अनुत्तरं पुण्यक्षेत्रं योगसाधि बुद्धं शरणं गच्छामि धम्मं शरणं गच्छामि संघं शरणं गच्छामि संघं शरणं गच्छामि संघं शरणं गच्छामि।
मंगलाचरणानन्तरं ये अस्माकम् अत्र सम्मिलिताः पूज्य अतिथयः सन्ति तेषां समेषां वाक्पुष्पै अभिनन्दनाय स्वागताय अथ च विषयप्रवर्तनाय सादरं प्रार्थयन्ते केन्द्रीय संस्कृत विश्वविद्यालयस्य बौद्धदर्शन विभागाध्यक्षाः परमसम्माननीयाः आचार्याः राम नंदन सिंह महोदयाः। कार्यक्रमस्य अस्य संयोजकाः वाचिकं स्वागतं कर्तुं विषयप्रवर्तनं च कर्तुम्।
नमः सहाय सर्वदृष्टिप्रहाणाय यः सद्धर्मं देशयत् अनुकंपाम् उपादाय तं नमस्कामि। नमो तस्मै भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धस्स। The most honorable and param आदरणीय our vice chancellor Professor Srinivas Parkheri ji and chairman of this Buddha Jayanti celebration. The most venerable monk and chief guest, Professor Bedagora Avaittasriji. The world-renowned archaeologist, Professor Anura Manatunga ji. Director, Academic Affairs, respected Professor Vanwani ji. Our Director, Lucknow Campus, respected Professor Sarvanarayan ji. And respected all the directors, professors, associate professors, assistant professors, students, scholars, and non-teaching staffs of all the campuses of Central University. Ladies and gentlemen, in India and abroad on virtual mode. First of all, I very sincerely express my humble and respectful greetings and congratulations on the auspicious occasion of 2566th Buddha Jayanti. Let the Buddha enlighten our path with peace, harmony. Now I feel honored in welcoming such a galaxy of scholars, celebrated savant. First of all, I would like to welcome our Param Adaraniya Vice Chancellor Mohoday ji, who has changed the course of Central Sanskrit University in a record time. In fact, there is a watershed development in the working of the university, which is one of the biggest universities in India, spread over 12 campuses through the length and breadth in India. Sir, you are the beacon of our university. And one thing I would like to share with our audience that our Honorable Vice Chancellor Mohadaji is a proactive. Day before yesterday, I was told to hold a Dhamm talk, a profound talk on the occasion of birth Jayanti of the Buddha. And the obvious result is before you. So when I say it, I really mean it. So sir, I welcome you here. Then I welcome our monk scholar, Professor Devagowda Abhaytasiji. He is an abbot and royal pandit in Sri Lanka. He is working as a professor in the Department of Pali and Buddhist Studies at the University of Sri Jayawardhane in Sri Lanka. He has several accolades in the form of honors and awards. There are 15 honors and awards, such as Commonwealth Scholarship for PhD, Sri Devanand Sanskrit Award, Sri Dharmarakshit Award, Sri Anagrik Dhamapal Award, Sri Vidyalankar Award, and so on. He has published 11 books, 9 edited books, 3 edited books of classical texts, such as Mahabhagavad Pali, Mahavans, and so on. He has presented scores of papers in seminars, conferences, symposia, workshops, and summer schools. Bhanteji has written 57 articles and research papers in peer-reviewed journals and refereed journals. And more importantly, he has been engaged as a resource person for training of clergy as well as laity. And he has also been a resource person for the training of teachers in the form of pedagogy and teaching techniques. So I welcome you, Professor Devagowda, here. And now I welcome our guest of honor, Professor Anura Manatungaji. Anura Manatungaji is presently Director General of Department of Archaeology, Government of Sri Lanka. And prior to this appointment, he has been Professor of Archaeology and Director, Center for Heritage Studies at University of Millennium. And he has been engaged in archaeology through the beginning. And when I visited Sri Lanka, he was the director of Polo Nuwa World Buddhist Site. So he is one thing is very important about Professor Anura Manatunga, that he is not only a great archaeologist, but he is also a great professor of this art, architecture, sculpture, epigraphy, and numismatics. And apart from this, he is a poet also. He writes poetry in Sinhalese language, and he has published 4 books on poetry. So, and one thing I would like to mention, I am indebted to Professor Anura Manatunga that when I was working at University of Jammu, and I invited him to prepare syllabus under CBCS at University of Jammu, then he accepted my invitation on behalf of our Honorable Vice Chancellor of Jammu University, and he came to Jammu University and prepared syllabi, and he prepared 3 syllabi. At that syllabi is still going on, and University of Kashmir has taken those syllabi also. So I welcome here Professor Anura Manatungaji. Then I welcome our Director, Academic Affairs, Professor Banwali Biswalji. He has very kind to me, and he has helped me to the maximum extent for organizing this seminar. Now I welcome our Director, Lucknow campus, Professor Sarvanayan Jhaji. He has blessed me in organizing this seminar, and we derive inspiration from our director concerning hard work. He's always engaged in doing work, swimming work, sometime or other. So I welcome you, sir, here. And I also welcome Professor Sukant Kumar Senapati ji, who is the HOD of Sarva Darshan Vibhag. And now I would like to throw some light on the topic of this talk. The topic here is Buddhism and world peace in the 21st century. In fact, Buddhism stands for world peace. And as a matter of fact, and I think Buddhism is basically, quote unquote, Buddhism is essentially a peace studies. And this is thesis that Buddhism is essentially a peace studies. All the discourses and sermons of the Buddha watch for world peace and peace on personal level, peace on society level, peace on village level, peace on state level, peace on national level, and peace on global level. So, and the very first sermon of Gautam Buddha, which is known as Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, there is mentioning of Majjhima Patipada. And Majjhima Patipada is suited for world peace. Here, in fact, the Dhammacakkappavattana is the gist of Buddhism. And it is the son of Buddhism, metaphorically speaking, that it is the son of Buddhism. Dhammacakkappavattana is the son of Buddhism, where all the philosophies, all the metaphysics, whether epistemological or ontological, all the concepts revolve around the Dhammacakkappavattana, around the first sermon. And the first sermon starts in Pali, Ekam Samayam Bhagava Panchavagye Vikhu Amantes Dve Vikhe Anta Katme Dev Yo Chayam Kame Sukam Sukalukan Yogo Hino Gamu Aryo Anat Sangato Yo Chayam Atikil Mathan Yogo Hino Dukho. And here Anupaganna Majjhima Patipada, Anupaganna Majjhima Patipada Gatin Avisambuddha. So Majjhima Patipada, that is middle path. Middle path is in fact a month for world peace. Middle path is abandoning two extremes: severe indulgence and severe mortification. Philosophically speaking, eternalism and nihilism. So it's a middle way. So if we accept midway, then there will be peace all around. And Buddhism, Gautam Buddha talks about inner peace. As a inner peace gives rise to outer peace. So first of all, there should be inner peace. Inner peace on the mental level. That's when the Dhammapada Gautam Buddha said, Manopabangma Dhamma Manosattha Manomaya Mansacha Paduchain Bhasatva Krodva Tatanga Dukhan Chakanga Bhaktu. So inner peace is very, very essential. Inner peace gives rise to outer peace, outward peace. And this is driven by mind, by thinking faculty. So Gautam Buddha again says in the Dignikaya, Chetana Aham Vikve Kammang Vadam. O monks, consciousness is the volition. So, and in the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, there is Chattar Arya Satchan, Four Noble Truths, Eightfold Path, Arya Atil Mako, and Dwadas Nidan. And apart from this, there is also message for peace. And that is Bahujan Hitai, Bahujan Sukhai, Loka Atthai, Hitai, Devai Manusayang, Ma Ekene Dve Agmit. Ma Ekene Dve Agmit. Deset Rikve Damang, Adi Kalyanang, Majje Kalyanang, Payosan Kalyanang, Saptang Sabyanjanang, Paripunang, Keval Paripunang, Brahmacharyam Pakasya. Here, Buddha says it's a Dhamma. So, Dhamma. And in fact, Buddhism is Dhamma. Buddhism is a modern nomenclature. The term Buddhism was coined in 1929. This term is very modern. In 1929, there was a German journalist. He coined the term Buddhism, and that time it was Buddhizem. Now it is Buddhism. In fact, the thought and concept of Buddha is Dhamma. The term is Dhamma. And apart from this, there is Brahma Vihar. So Brahma Vihar is also very much suited for world peace. And Brahma Vihar is Metta, Karuna, Mudita, Upekha. And it's interesting to note that in the Patanjali Sutta, there is Sutta 1.33. And there also, Patanjali says, Maitri, Karuna, Mudito, Vekshanam, Dukh Sukh Punya Punyam, Dukh Sukh Punya Pin Visyonam, Bhavna Taschi Prasadanam. But here is a bit difference. Here Apeksha, Upeksha, and Upekha. On the concept of Upekha in Buddhism and the concept of Upeksha in Yoga Sutram is a bit different. So these are the concepts very much suited for world peace. And here Gautam Buddha said, peace should be, the means of peace should be peaceful means. The way for peace should be peaceful means. So there are several concepts, other concepts also. Gautam Buddha himself engaged in conflict resolutions. In fact, there should be a center for conflict resolutions. During his lifetime, Gautam Buddha engaged in a couple of conflict resolutions. In fact, when there was a war between Magad and Vaishali, and the Vastakar of Magad, the minister of Magad, went to the Buddha. That time Buddha was residing at the Girdhapur Parvat, and Buddha then gave the concept of peace, and that is mentioned in the Mahaparinirbana Sutta of the Digha Nikaya, and that is Sat Aparahaniya Dhamma. That Gautam Buddha said, if you want to observe peace, there must be respect for territory. There must be respect for sex, must be respect for worship place of other sex, and there must be respect for women and child. And today, what's happening? There is war between Ukraine and Russia. Peace is being taught, and what is the cause? There must be cause. And so Gautam Buddha talks about cause and effect. In the Dhammacakkavartan Sutta, that is called Dvadas Nidan and dependent origination. So there is cause. If cause is annihilated, the effect will be ceased. And the other conflict resolution was Rohini. There was a river flowing between Sakya Republic and Polio Republic. Gautam Buddha was from Sakya Republic and his others was from Polio Republic. And there was a paddy crop and there was war for water. Gautam Buddha went there and he resolved the conflict between Sakya Republic and Polio Republic. So Buddhism stands for world peace in toto. In fact, all the sermons and teachings of the Buddha was for world peace. And here world peace starts from personal level. Gautam Buddha says, your peace starts from personal level, then family level, then society level, then village level, then state level, then national level, then global level. So peace begins at heart, in mind. So all the discourses and sermons of the Buddha call for world peace. And one thing I would like to add that I am very happy to share here that the nomenclature of our department is now Department of Bodh Darshan and Pali. The word Pali has been suffixed. now I would like to, we would like to start MA in Pali and in ensuing academic sessions. So I include with folded hands, the Honorable Vice Chancellor will take care of this demand. The MA Pali should be started. With all this, I would like to again welcome all my dignitaries and especially my dignities, our dignities from Sri Lanka, the monk scholar, Professor Metagora Avaitis, and the world-renowned archaeologist, Professor Anura Munatungaji. All these, I stop here.
Thank you very much, Professor Ramnandan Singh ji, for your welcome speech. इदानीं व्याख्यानस्य क्रमः वर्तते, अतः सर्वादौ अत्र राराज्यमानाः सन्ति विश्वविश्रुताः शिक्षाविदः, विविधविद्यासु कृतभूरिश्रमाः, भारतीयविद्यानुरागिणः, अस्माकं संरक्षकाः, मार्गदर्शकाः, कुशलप्रशासकाः, केन्द्रीयसंस्कृतविश्वविद्यालयस्य कुलपतयः, परमश्रद्धेयाः प्रोफेसर श्रीनिवास वरखेड़ी वर्याः, कार्यक्रमस्य अस्य अध्यक्षाः, एतेषां महोदयानाम् अद्य अन्यानि अपि अनेकानि अपरिहार्याणि कार्याणि सम्पादनीयानि सन्ति। एतस्मात् कारणात् अध्यक्षीय भाषणं किञ्चित् पौरापर्यं कृत्वा कुलपति महोदयः इदानीं सादरं सविनयं प्रार्थयन्ते यत् अध्यक्षीय उद्बोधनेन आशीर्वचोभिश्च अस्मान् अनुगृह्णन्तु।
सर्वेभ्यः समवेतेभ्यः विद्वद्भ्यः मदीयाः प्रणामाः। तत्रादौ भगवतः बुद्धस्य स्तुतिः भगवत्पादशङ्करेण विहिता, तां स्तुतिम् अत्र प्रस्तौमि। धराबद्ध पद्मासनस्थाङ्घ्रियष्टिः नियम्यानिलं न्यस्तनासाग्रदृष्टिः य आस्ते कलौ योगिनां चक्रवर्ती, य आस्ते कलौ योगिनां चक्रवर्ती सबुद्ध प्रबुद्धोऽस्तु नश्चित्तवर्ती, सबुद्ध प्रबुद्धोऽस्तु नश्चित्तवर्ती। अद्य केन्द्रीय संस्कृत विश्वविद्यालयस्य बौद्ध दर्शन विभागेन अन्य विभागैः सह सम्भूय बुद्ध जयन्ती कार्यक्रमः समायोजितः। कार्यक्रमेऽस्मिन् अन्तर्राष्ट्रीये सत्रे समुपस्थिताः मुख्यातिथिरूपेण आचार्य वेदगौड़ अभयस्तिस्सा महाभागाः, कार्यक्रमे विशिष्टातिथिरूपेण समुपस्थिताः आचार्य अनुरा मनटुंगा महाभागाः, अस्माकं विश्वविद्यालयस्य लखनऊ परिसरस्य निदेशकाः पूर्वकुलपतयः आचार्याः सर्वनारायण झा महाभागाः, शैक्षिक विभागस्य निदेशकाः आचार्य वनमाली विश्वाल महाभागाः, विशिष्य कार्यक्रमस्यास्य संयोजनं कुर्वन्तः आचार्याः श्री रामनंदन सिंह महाभागाः, आचार्य अवधेश कुमार चौबे महाभागाः, आचार्य गुरुचरण सिंह नेगी महाभागाः, आचार्ये डॉक्टर कृष्णा कुमारी महाभागे, समुपस्थिताः दार्शनिकाः, शोधच्छात्राः छात्राश्च। बुद्ध जयंती भगवत्पाद शंकराणामेव यदि तत्र महती श्रद्धा, तर्हि अस्माकं समेषामपि वैदिकानाम् अवैदिकानां श्रद्धास्थानं भवति। अद्य विशिष्य जगति यत्र सर्वथैव अशान्तिः प्रसृता, तत्र विशिष्य भगवतः बुद्धस्य स्मृतिः अपेक्षिता। वयं च विस्मृतात्मानः, अस्माभिः अस्माकम् आत्मा विस्मृतः। भारतदेशस्य आत्मरूपेण यत् तत्त्वज्ञानं तिष्ठति, तादृशं तत्त्वज्ञानम् अस्माभिर्विस्मृतम्। विस्मृतिदोषादेव कारणात् अधुना अशान्तिः सर्वत्र विद्यते। तस्मात् अधुनैव पूर्ववक्त्रा यथा उपदिष्टं, बुद्धतत्त्वज्ञानम् एव शान्तेः अपरं नाम। शान्तिरित्यस्य अपरं नाम बुद्धतत्त्वज्ञानम्। यश्च बुद्धो भवति सः तस्य सन्निधावेव कस्य शान्तिः न कथञ्चित् युद्धम्। The Ukraine and Russia, these two countries are waging the war. They are fighting with each other, throwing their weapons on each other. But it is not so. World is divided. Some nations are taking the side of Ukraine, some are taking the side of Russia. This is the situation whenever war has happened in the world. Every war will make the world divided, because war starts from the division, and fight starts from the feeling of the I am Nija Paraha. So he is someone else. So this sort of Bheda Buddhi is the root cause of all these wars. In fact, as our previous speaker, while introducing the concept of this webinar, said that the war happens inside first. The inside, if someone is, war is happening in the family, or in the society, or in the nation, or between the nations, that is the sign of absence of peace inside. Because the division starts within the mind. Once the mind is divided, when the mental constructions are divided, then there is no alignment in the thought. When there is no alignment in the thought, naturally noise will emerge. That noise will spread, noise will go out, and that is exhibited in the form of war. This is not just war of weapons. It is war of speech, war of mental constructions, war of thoughts, war of differences, war of our feeling for our share. So the world is moving towards a sort of a place, what we call hell. Prapanchaha narakam jayamanam. So in this context, we should recall, we should elevate ourselves to the higher level, what Buddha calls nirvana. It is not so easy. But as we know, Vairameva sarvasya nidanam. The vaira is the root cause of every problem. This vaira starts within the mind because we understand that the rest of the world is against me. When we think that rest of the world is against me, considering my right, my share, my happiness, then the differences will begin and they raise the war. So that a yogi always, finds the answer within. He never goes out to search for the answers. If at all we go out to search the possible causes of the war between Ukraine and Russia, and we don't get the answer. If at all we move towards finding an answer, we will come to a place where myself stand. That means I am the root cause because all fingers pointing towards me, they point towards me. Mehi karan. I am the root cause because my mind is the cause. My mental construction is the cause. Therefore, if at all we search for any reason for the war, ultimately we reach to our inner circle, our inner voice. So therefore, अतः मन एव मनुष्य मनः मनसेव एतानि निमित्तानि सन्ति तानि शोधयितुं मैत्री करुणा मुदिता उपेक्षा इति एते गुणाः अस्माभिः सम्पादनीयाः. Maitri, when we find somebody is powerful than us, we don't fight with him because we know that we have limitations. But when we find someone is equal, then we think that we can attack him. Ukraine and Russia are doing the same thing. They think that they consider that they are powerful, equally powerful. Even if someone is weak, others will make him powerful. There are many countries who will give them weapons. That means we should have Maitri there. When natural Maitri is developed, then nothing can happen. Nothing can force us to take a war. Karuna. If someone is very weak, Durbala, then we should show Karuna for him. And whatever we get, we should be happy. If someone is happy within himself, then no need to search for anything better than his life. So these qualities are possible to develop within a yogi. अतएव भगवता कृष्णेन उक्तं नास्ति बुद्धिरयुक्तस्य न चायुक्तस्य भावना न च अभावयतः शान्तिः न अशान्तस्य कुतः सुखम्. We are not happy because we don't have peace. We are in conflicts. We are in double standards. Therefore, in order to avoid this situation inside, we should explore bhavana. This bhavana will make us, will empower to get rid of our conflicts, and slowly we march towards peace. Therefore, today, in order to achieve our global objective of peace, Shanti, and we should surrender. Buddham Sharanam Gacchami. Therefore, even for Buddhist philosophers, the followers of Buddhism, they worship Lord Buddha as God. Not only them, even Vedikas have considered, all Vedic systems have considered Buddha as incarnation of Lord Vishnu. Even in Bhagavatam, we have Buddha as incarnate, described as incarnation of Vishnu. Therefore, the whole world worships Buddha as our protector. Today, everyone, each of one of us should recall and spread this message. Therefore, this international webinar is important. अद्य केन्द्रे अतः मया कानिचित् वचनानि आङ्ग्लभाषया उक्तानि केवलम् अन्ताराष्ट्रीय स्तरे केचन जनाः अत्र उपस्थिताः सन्ति इति हेतोः अस्माकं विश्वविद्यालयस्य सर्वेपि छात्राः दर्शनछात्राः विशिष्य बुद्धदर्शनस्य वैशिष्ट्यम् अवगच्छेयुः। एतत् दर्शनं न केवलं दर्शनम् अपि तु योगदर्शनम् एतत्। अतएव यदि कदाचित् भवन्तः योगदर्शनस्य वैशिष्ट्यं पश्यन्ति, बुद्धयोगदर्शनमपि विशिष्टं दर्शनं। यत्र अन्यत्र योगदर्शने तावत् कारणं विमृश्य कारणे कार्यस्य लयः एव योगः। चित्तवृत्तिनिरोधः, चित्तवृत्तीनां चित्ते लयः योगः इत्युच्यते। अत्र बुद्धदर्शने तावत् कारणमेव नास्ति। कारणाभावेपि कार्योत्पादः यः दृश्यते तत्र कारणाभाव भावना एव, कारणं नास्ति इति भावना एव अस्मान् मोचयति। तस्मात् तत्र विपश्यना अर्थात् कारणमेव नास्ति इति परिज्ञानमेव तत्त्वज्ञानमेव मोक्षस्य कारणम् इति बुद्धस्य यः बुद्धस्य यद् योगदर्शनं तद् योगदर्शनम् अस्माभिः सम्यक् अवगन्तव्यं, विभावनीयं च इत्युक्त्वा एतादृशकार्यक्रमस्य संयोजनाय कारणीभूतान् अस्माकं शैक्षिकसंकायस्य अध्यक्षान् एवमेव बौद्धदर्शन पाली विभागस्य अध्यक्षान् इतरांश्च आचार्यान् छात्रांश्च अभिनन्द्य च मदीयानि वचनानि उपसंहरामि। धन्यवादः। अहमत्रैव उपस्थितो भविष्यामि। भवन्तः कार्यक्रमम् अग्रे नयन्तु। यथा कालम् अहमत्र उपस्थितः भूत्वा अस्य कार्यक्रमस्य आध्यक्षं निर्वक्ष्यामि।
कुलपतिवर्यैः ज्ञानवर्धकेन उत्साहवर्धकेन प्रेरणास्पदेन व्याख्यानेन अनुगृहीता वयं तेभ्यः प्रणितवत्सरं हार्दं कार्तज्ञं व्याहरामि। इदानीं स्वगतविद्या संरक्षकानां ज्ञानवुड्डानं शीलवुड्डानं श्रीलंका देशे स्थितस्य जयवर्धनपुरा विश्वविद्यालयस्य आचार्याणाम् अद्यतनीयस्य वैशाख पूर्णिमा समारोहस्य अस्य प्रमुखातिथीनां पूजनीयानां भिक्षूणां मेडगोडा अभयतिस्य महाथेरानां स्वकीय उद्बोधनाय सादरं सविनयं प्रार्थयामि। Now I humbly request the most respected venerable Mahathera Medagoda Abhayatis Professor at University of Jayawardhanepura, Sri Lanka, to oblige us by giving your kind lecture.
Thank you very much, sir. Sabbe satta bhavantu sukhitatta. Imasmin atittarayang sabhayang Pali bhasaya sadarang kinchi pakasetum ukasang yachami. Vibudhanang mahasayanang sakkata bhasaya amantanang diswa tesang garavaya paliyapi tokang vadetum me chittang uppachi. Patamang imassa sankatanassa sanvidhayakana Buddha Dhamma Sangha Tisarana Saranancha Mama Thomancha Pakasevi Palya Sakkata Bhasaicha Mangala Charanam Katanam Balaka Balikanam Sabba Mangalam Bhavatu Sakkata Bhasaya Amantito Acharyo Guru Charan Mahasayocha Sirinimasa Mahacharyocha Atisayena Mama Hadayang Ganhi Yata Chinan Shukamiva Keto Pativatang Niyamanasya Tumha kan tahi bahasahi amantanang Apuppang acharimang vimhayancha assadancha temancha tosancha avahati. Aduna इमस्मिन् सभायां सब्बेषां भाषु गहनत्थाय आङ्ग्रेजी भाषाय मम आमन्त्रणम् आरभितुम् अवकाशं याचामि. May all the beings be well and happy. Dear friends in Dhamma, I would like to thank the organizing committee for inviting me to give a talk at this important gathering on the occasion of Buddha Purnima. This is a time of extraordinary human unrest in Sri Lanka. This situation brings us into dishonor as Buddhist country. But we who know the human mind and consider this as part of the magic of the mind can cause that stress to go away. My topic is Buddhism and World Peace in the 21st Century. That title is exactly fixed for today. We need to think about how much damage the silence of truly aware people has done to the world. They are more responsible for the injustice of this world than the terrible people. Therefore, your effort to shed light on the world through such a conference is admirable. Throughout records in the history, we have always been recorded of not only periods of peace, unity and prosperity, but also of war and destruction. Achieving the true peace is not an easy task like this speech. True peace is not only the absence of violent conflict, but also the state of coexistence. But world peace cannot exist without individual peace. According to Buddhism, the world exists in the mind. Chittena niyati loko. Without inner peace and reconciliation, the seeds of conflict and violence that began with greed, hatred, and delusion will always be ready to grow. War exists for many reasons, including political reasons and religious reasons. The Buddha pointed out that ignorance, avijja, and greed, tanha, to cause suffering. There are a number of rich countries in the world. That is why other countries are said to be poor. Rich countries need to keep other countries poor in order to maintain their wealth. Divisions and inequalities between rich and poor are linked to economic and economy between rich and poor countries. But more equal and just social societies tend to be more stable and enjoy long-term growth. Other economically successful societies show higher rates of violent crimes, lower levels of social trust in some places. Even though more developed societies have lower crimes rates and higher social confidence. Great economic equality is one tool that can contribute to peace, but above all, it must be said that humanity wants to promote peace. To achieve true peace, one must learn to treat all people as brothers and sisters, regardless of their ethnicity, nationality, or religion. We need to develop a system that is rooted in a universal perspective that respect all. Others must respect to the other people, those who are in religious countries, religious colors, in religious various religions. There must be a global commitment to protect people from harm and misery. Religious identity is common to all. No one is more important than anyone else. Respect for people can bring with the establishment of economic, social, and political justice. And also, the vast wealth that a few have unjustly earned will certainly have miserable effect on many others. This fact is common to a community as well as the world. There is actually there are enough wealth in the world to ensure that everyone has access to basic needs such as enough food, clothing, shelter, and medical care. The problem is not lack of wealth. Human desire is not satisfied even if it rains. A rain of gold coin. Na kahapana vassena titti kamesu vijjati. For true peace to exist, a solid foundation must be established. Both national policy and international institutions must prioritize the upliftment of the people from the vast possible levels of poverty. For example, freeing people from hunger is not only a moral responsibility by all of the people, but also policy that has positive economic impact and promote global cooperation. Even this alone could be a giant step in the direction of world peace. As Mr. Ram Nandan Singh stated, world peace must begin with individual peace. This requires new values for top to bottom. Instead of disunity and conflict, selfishness and personal ambition, we must deeply appreciate cooperation and compassion. Instead of promoting competition, we need to develop harmonious communities and social cohesion. The world's political and religious leaders have a great responsibility to ensure this. Otherwise, world peace will always be a dream and not a reality. When there is inner peace, there can be outer peace. Attanameva pathamang patirupe nivese. We can reach our goal through non-selfishness attitudes. To establish peace, we must be peaceful. If our minds are troubled by anger and hatred, as our previous scholar said, if our mind is full with anger and hatred, our efforts to promote peace may provoke more conflict and perhaps even more violence. The angry mind is not a reliable tool for promoting peace. But when our mind is at peace, our bodily functions at peace, and we naturally show opens, trust, caring, and compassion.
which helps us to have peaceful relationship. Buddhism is a path and teaching not only for personal gain but also for the happiness and well-being of others. In today's globalized world, what happens in one country can affect the whole world. Our emphasis should be on the basis human qualities based on the more universal form of spirituality. It builds on the need for inner peace and a commitment to world peace. Human solidarity and environmental protection. Our active commitment to the well-being of others nourishes our own spiritual growth, deepens our compassion, and strengthens our moral integrity. Making it internal and external peace a reality requires efforts and can be difficult at times, but nothing truly valuable can be achieved without effort. Personal peace leads to family peace. Family peace leads to peace in society or community. Community peace leads to peace in country. Peace in country leads to world peace. Therefore, everyone who sees world peace should not confuse peaceful countries. Sri Lanka is now a victim of a world power struggle. As a result, an economic crisis has been created due to the wrong economic pattern of the corrupt rulers. Accordingly, some social unrest has been created. It must be resolved not by international military assistance, but by extending the hands of friendship. As Professor Srinivasa Varke emphasized, Buddhism cannot prescribe a cure for these kinds of social problems other than loving kindness, metta, compassion, karuna, sympathetic joy, mudita, and equanimity, upekka. May the peace prevail in the world. Sabbe bhadrani passantu ma kanchi ma pamagama. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bhanteji, for gracing us all with your enlightening speech. Ito parang Sri Lanka Sasanassa Puratattva Vibhagassa Mahanideshakanam Srimantanam Mananiyanam Samarohassa Assa Sammanitatatithinam Acharyanam Anura Maratunga Varanam Sakiya Ubbodhana Padanaya Sadarang Nivedami. Now we request the honored guest of today's program, Honorable Professor Anura Manatunga, Director General of Archaeology Department, Government of Sri Lanka, to kindly deliver your scholastic lecture. Professor Anura Manatunga.
Good evening to everybody. Member of the Mahasangha, my very good friend, Professor Madhagoda Abetissa Nayakatero, and Professor Ramnanda Seal, and all the dignitaries. I am very happy and also honored to be invited for today's lecture or seminar. But I am rather scared today because as myself and also my reverend friend, Professor Madhagoda Abetis, both are suffering of political crisis here in Sri Lanka, political and economic crisis. We are in a very grave situation. I think you have seen them in news lines last few days, and most of my Indian friends are giving me telephone calls and asking me how our situation is here. Actually, I'm really scared as to whether my internet connection will be interrupted before I finish my lecture. Anyway, I would like to fulfill my promise to my very good friend, Professor Ramanandan Singh, because otherwise he will be very angry with me. He can't understand our situation here in Sri Lanka. Because when he visited us 2 years ago, Sri Lanka is like a paradise, but at the moment it is like hell. Anyway, we hope for the betterment in future because we are Buddhist and we always optimistic, and we know if we follow proper way of Buddhist doctrine and Buddha's teaching, we can recover as soon as possible. In fact, we face this problem due to that we didn't follow Buddha's teachings properly. So that may be the reason that we are facing repercussions today. So my topic, actually, I have nothing more to say new. Already, my Guruji, Professor Madhagoda Abeti Satero, and also Professor Ramanandan Singh, they mentioned about Lord Buddha's doctrine, and also our Vice Chancellor, he also referred to lots of Buddhist doctrines, and I have nothing more new to say. But in this seminar, we have two more aspects to talk. One is the 21st century and also the world peace and also the Buddhism. So I'll start from the first part of it. It is the 21st century. Why is differ from the 20th century? You know that we all lived in the 20th century also. We are lucky in that sense because we could witness both 20th century and also the 21st century. In the 20th century, the world was bipolar world. There were two major world powers, America and also Russia. But 21st century started with the monopoly world. The Russia collapsed, 1990, and thereafter we started 21st century as the monopolar world. US as the sole power of the world. But after a few years, one more power came up little bit, China, and also now some other countries like India, Brazil, and also these big countries and G8 countries also coming up. So there may be multipolar world in future in the 21st century. So we have to face about this situation, and this we have to understand. At the same time, we have today stateless societies because the national state in the 20th century are weakening now. Now there are so many other power groups like BIMSTEC, BRIC, SARC also is not that much powerful, but anyway, SARC is there, and Asia, EU, that type of new economic and security groups are coming up. They are more powerful than national state. And actually nowadays, we are also looking forward for BIMSTEC, the new India lead cooperation. SARC has already been dead, though it's prevailing. So we are looking forward for BIMSTEC, and Sri Lanka is part and parcel of it, India and Sri Lanka. And the 21st century is, some extent, it is governed by information. So we call this an information age. That's also good, also bad. That's the reality, I think. We have to understand this century governed by information. The information technology is very important and also very fast. And we take information within very soon. And also this is a digital age. We know that as a student of history, we know about the history. We have Stone Age, Bronze Age, Iron Age, Industrial Age, and this age, the 21st century, we can call this a digital age. This totally different age. So 20th century we could meet like this. Today we can meet either virtual, practically or virtually we can meet. 2 weeks before I was not 2 weeks, 1 week before I was in Delhi, and today I am in Sri Lanka, but I talk to people in Delhi and in India. So this is not possible. This is not this much easy during the 20th century, but today it is the reality. And also, today the pandemic also is also rampant. We all suffered during the last 2 years by this COVID pandemic, and before that SARS also there. But pandemic also is going to be stateless now. It's spreading beyond boundaries. We can control it, but at the same time, spreading is also too much in this period. And economy is also rather dollar is dominant as an international currency, and also the currency-less economy, like some other currencies are also, alternative currencies are also being used today, and electronic money is also being a big role in the modern 21st century. So this is the the general scenario of the 21st century. At the same time, we have a global concern of terrorism and war in the 21st century. So that's the most important for us today, because we are talking on the peace. Fortunately, we didn't face world war like 20th century. The 20th century, we faced two major world wars, World War I and World War II. But after that, we faced a Cold War for about 3 decades. And thereafter, in the 21st century, today we are facing some type of other wars, but fortunately they are not as severe as World War, but sometimes it's dangerous than World War periods. And these wars can be seen as 3 types of wars. One is state wars. State is fighting with another state, and some wars are like civil wars, and others are terrorist attack. Terrorist has no country or no religion, no nationality. They are terrorists. So these 3 types of attacks we are facing now. I will give you some examples. What are the wars we were fought during these 2 decades? Within 21st century. One is most of these wars are in the Middle East, and Israel is one of the partners of that, and also Gaza Strip, and also Lebanon, and also Palestinian were in war during last 2 decades, and still some wars are going on. Sometimes it lasted for 2 weeks, sometimes 3 weeks, but died about 1,000, 2,000 innocent people during each war. We can say each phase of war, this war is still going on. This Middle East, Palestinian, Israel, and Lebanon, and Syria, and this war. And Iranian war was also one of the wars. It started in the 20th century, but then the second phase started in the 21st century. And Afghanistan, we also faced another war, and also some kind of these wars are partly wars, civil wars, and also the we can say terrorist involvements. And in South Africa and also in West Africa, the Boko Haram is also creating lots of problems. And now we know about the Ukrainian and Russian war. That's also there. And there are lots of terrorist attacks all over the world. And we all know about the 9/11 attack in America. 2,997 people officially reported as dead by this one-day attack. It's a suicide attack. And also, we in Sri Lankans, we faced 30 years war, and it was ended during this Cold War period. During this 21st century period. Started during the Cold War period. And we were recently attacked. In 2019, we were attacked by some extremists. We call it East attack in April 20th. And I think India also have some experience about terrorist attacks. In 2019, as I remember, they attacked Mumbai, and 174 people died, innocent people died of that. And then they attacked for Mumbai railway also once. And there are this type of attacks from time to time, recent years. So this is the situation in 21st century. So this is the biggest problem for us to face today. So how, as Buddhists, we face these wars? Are Buddhists started even a single war in the world, in the history of Buddhists? No, I don't think. Buddhists never invaded countries, and they never made groups. There were some kind of protective groups as Shaolin monks, but they didn't fight against others. They trained for protection by themselves, for self-protection, only for that. Sri Lanka is a resourceful country, right? There are lots of resources. I think Sri Lanka has more resources than England or Japan. But we never thought of building an empire because it's due to Buddhism. As Buddhists, we will never think about subjugate some other people. That's not Buddhism. So that influence is there. Today, we didn't follow that Buddha's path. That's why we are facing this problem. If we followed his path properly, then we never go for the present situation. So Buddha's way, I think, as we all know, and most of you have already told, and his religion, he propagated ahimsa, karuna, mudita, daya. So those things are in Buddhism. With those things, how do we weigh a war? It's a religion for peace only. So Buddha himself, he propagated metta, karuna, and mudita throughout his life. Not only throughout his life, even his previous birth, according to the Jataka stories. See, most of the Jataka stories are supporting peace and harmony of the world. It is for creating harmony and love among people, not for hatred among people. Buddhism, hate for hatred. So it's always thinking about the karuna, mudita, and maitri, and that type of feelings and that type of happenings in the world. You know about this 5 precincts of Buddha Dhamma, like Panatipata, Adignadana. So Panatipata means abstain from harming other lives. So that's the first of 5 precincts. So we every day, as a Buddhist, I also say it. So how do we go for war? As telling so. So we can't do that. And even his Noble Eightfold Path, there is Samma Ajiva. So in Samma Ajiva, we can't sell arms and weaponry. So without selling arms and weaponry, how do we wage war? We can't do that. So Buddhism is like that. Buddhism never say to harm others. Buddhism say to protect everybody. And Buddhism knows that most of these problems come that as we don't respect others. Buddhism always respect others, even for the other religions also. Buddha never criticized other religions unnecessarily. He criticized only academically. He respected Mahavir very much. And even his other opponents, I mean, doctrine opponents, he visited them. And he argued with them, but never fought with them. And never asked their followers to come and join him. He never asked anybody to join him. He asked Ehipassiko, come and see. If you like, you can join. And never forced anybody else. So this is very important for the peace of the world. You can't force anybody to join this religion or that type of things. So Buddhist way of thinking is very important. That sense. Ehipassiko. You come and see. If it's good, you can join. Otherwise, Buddhists can't force anybody else to become a Buddhist. But we know that some other religions or some other people, they force it. Not only by verbally forcing, but sometimes they force by the tip of the gun to join them. Otherwise, they would have been killed. So this type of thing has never happened in Buddhism. And you know that Buddha himself avoided war in Rohini River. You know about this thing, Sakya Polya war, and also you know that he helped not to wage war by Ajasattu with Minister Vansakara. He also talked against war about that. He always talked that the life is more important than other things. And he knew that why people wage war. He knew about economic crisis. As Dr. Ramananda Singh said, Sabbe Satta Haraktika. He told like that. And also he told that Bahujana Hitaya Bahujana Sukhaya. He first told his monks to do like that. Work for the common people, work for the mass, and not for only a section of the people. So these are the Buddhist doctrines. So if you follow this, the peace will be there. Right? So that's all I have to say. So, and I think there are very well-educated Buddhist scholars among here. I am only an archaeologist. I do study. I am a Buddhist and archaeologist, but not a Buddhist scholar like Reverend Madhagoda Advaitista or Professor Ramananda or some other scholars. So you know about those things. So what we have to do is we have to propagate these things among world community. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Professor Anura Manatunga, sir, for your scholarly lecture. अतः परम अत्र संवेदा सन्ति महान्तः कवयः दार्शनिकाः नैके ग्रन्थानां रचयितारः विविध विद्यासु कृतभूरिश्रमाः केन्द्रीय संस्कृत विश्वविद्यालयस्य शैक्षणिक निर्देशकाः परमश्रद्धेयाः आचार्या बनमाली विश्वाल महोदयाः समारोहस्य अस्य सम्मानातिथयः ते इदानीं सादरं प्रार्थयन्ते यत् स्वकीय उद्बोधनेन अस्मान् अनुग्रहीन्तु इति। प्रोफेसर बनमाली विश्वाल महोदयाः।
वंदे तथागतं बुद्धं करुणा परिपूरितं शुद्धोदनसुतं वंदे मायादेव्याश्च गर्भजं लुम्बिन्यां लब्धजन्मानं वंदे विश्वगुरुं मुदा यश्च बोधगयायां तु साक्षात् बुद्धत्वमाप्तवान् बुद्धं तं श्रमणं वंदे वंदे कुप्रवृत्ति निवारकं बुद्धं तं श्रमणं वंदे कुप्रवृत्ति निवारकं सुप्रवृत्तिश्च दातारं लोकमंगलकारकं वंदे विष्णुरूपं बुद्धं क्वचित् शिवरूपं पुनः अमर्त्यं मर्त्यलोके च देवावताररूपिणम्। केंद्रीय संस्कृत विश्वविद्यालयेन विशिष्य बुद्धदर्शन विभागेन बुद्धपूर्णिमावसरे बुद्धजयन्तीम् उपलक्ष्य आयोजितायाम् अस्याम् अन्तर्जालीयायाम् अन्ताराष्ट्रीय संगोष्ठ्याम् अणुप्रणल्या समवेतानां सर्वेषां विदुषाम् आचार्याणां प्राध्यापकानां तथा छात्राणां हार्दिकं स्वागतम् अभिनन्दनं च। विशिष्य अद्यतनस्य कार्यक्रमस्य अध्यक्षाः अस्माकं विश्वविद्यालयस्य मान्याः कुलपतयः महान्तः विद्वांसः प्रोफेसर श्रीनिवास वरकेडी महोदयाः, मुख्यातिथयः श्रीलङ्कादेशीयाः महास्थविराः प्रोफेसर मेडागुड अभयतिस्सा महोदयाः, सम्मानितातिथयः श्रीलङ्कादेशवास्तव्याः पुरातत्त्वविदः प्रोफेसर अनुरा मनतुंगा महोदयाः, विशिष्टातिथयः लखनऊ परिसरस्य निदेशकाः रामेश्वर सिंह दरभंगा संस्कृत विश्वविद्यालयस्य कुलपतिचराः प्रोफेसर सर्वनारायण झा महोदयाः, स्वागतभाषणकर्तारः बौद्धदर्शन विभागाध्यक्षाः प्रोफेसर रामनंदन सिंह महोदयाः एवं च दर्शन विभागाध्यक्षाः एकलव्य परिसरस्य निदेशकाः प्रोफेसर सुकांत कुमार सेनापति महोदयाः तथा तत्रत्या एव प्रोफेसर अवधेश जोबे महोदयाः ये धन्यवादान् ज्ञापयिष्यन्ति। संचालकाः डॉक्टर गुरुचरण सिंह नेगी महोदयाः, तकनीकी समन्वयिका अन्वयिका डॉक्टर कृष्णा कुमारी महोदया तथा च अस्याम् अंतर्जालीय अंतर्राष्ट्रीय संगोष्ठ्यां अणुप्रणाल्या संयुक्ताश्च समे निदेशक प्रमुखाः परिसरीयाः आचार्याः विद्वांसः तथा छात्राश्च। बुद्ध शासनमित्युक्ते बुद्धोपदेशः बुद्ध देशना वा। तथागतो गौतमो यदा बुद्धत्वम् आप्तवान् तदा आरभ्य भगवान् महात्मा बुद्धः इत्याख्यया प्रख्यातः। मानवकल्याणाय तेनैव प्रदत्तः उपदेशः बुद्धशासनम् उच्यते। महात्मा बुद्धः भारतस्य महत्सु दार्शनिकेषु अन्यतमः समाज संस्कारकः बौद्धधर्मस्य संस्थापकः आसीत्। समग्र विश्वाय नवीनं मार्गं मध्यमार्गेण जीवनस्य दुःखानि तथा सांसारिक निर्गतवान्। संपूर्ण
महोदय ध्वनि सम्यक् न श्रूयते महोदय।
महात्मा बुद्ध इदानीं
श्रूयते महोदय।
तत्र भगवान् महात्मा बुद्ध भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरायाः कश्चन महान् स्तम्भो वर्तते, येन मानव सभ्यतायै सुविनो मार्गः पश्यन्तश्च महत्वपूर्ण आत्मदीपो भव। अर्थात् मनुष्यः स्वयमेव करोमि। वस्तुतः वर्तमान काले यदा मनुष्यः क्षणम् अवसादग्रस्तः भवति तदा बुद्धस्य विचाराणां महत्त्वं सर्वथा यतोहि तथा चान्येषु सामाजिक प्रसंगेषु
महोदय पुनः ध्वनिः सम्यक् न श्रूयते महोदयाः पुनः।
हेलो
आम श्रीमन्तः।
इदानीं किञ्चित् आप क्या आप कैमरा अपना ऑडिबल हो जाएगा। हैं? आप अपना कैमरा बंद कर दीजिए। कैमरा बंद एवं वा? इदानीं श्रूयते?
आम श्रीमन्तः। आम श्रूयते श्रीमन्तः।
श्रूयते?
आम श्रीमन्तः।
कैमरा ऑन भवति चेत् श्रूयते इदानीं?
इदानीं तु श्रूयते, मध्ये मध्ये नेटवर्क प्रॉब्लम अस्ति इति ज्ञायते।
किं कर्तव्यं? कैमरा ऑफ कृत्वा करोमि। अस्तु श्रूयन्ते?
आम्।
यतोहि अद्यत्वे नैकेभ्यो कारणेभ्यो जनाः गृहे कार्यालये तथा चान्येषु सामाजिक प्रसंगेषु जीवनस्य महत्त्वपूर्णं निर्णयं स्वयं न गृहीत्वा अन्यस्योपरि तादृशं दायित्वं त्यजन्ति। एवं कृत्वा मनुष्योऽपि वस्तुभूय जीवति। बुद्धस्य सिद्धान्तानुसारं व्यक्तिः व्यक्तिरेव भवेत्, न तु वस्तु। बुद्धस्य नैतिकदृष्टिकोणस्य द्वितीयः प्रमुखः विचारः मध्यममार्गनाम्ना ज्ञायते। भगवतः बुद्धस्य मध्यममार्गसिद्धान्तः अद्यापि तावन्तः प्रासंगिकाः सन्ति यावन्तः बुद्धस्य समये आसन्। यथा वीणातन्त्री अधिकसमाकर्षणात् विस्तारात् वा छिन्ना भवति, तथैव अधिकसङ्कोचादपि आवश्यकं मधुरं स्वरं न जनयति। मूले सांप्रदायिकतावादः, आतंकवादः, नस्लवादः, जातिवादयोः नैके बाधाः भवन्ति। महत्वपूर्ण शिक्षा लभ्यते अति घातकं तस्य अतिवादस्य धार्मिकी सहस्पति तथा मानव मनसि सर्वधर्म समभाव
महोदय कैमरा ऑफ स्थापयन् महोदय। आम्।
तस्य अतिवादस्य वर्जनादेव धार्मिकी सहिष्णुता वर्धते तथा मानव मनसि सर्वधर्म समभावः समुदेति। सर्वेषां दुःखानां मूलकारणं कामना एव वर्तते। कामनायाः विनाशे दुःखानां विनाशो भवितुम् अर्हति। वस्तुतः इच्छानां प्राबल्यात् प्राकृतिक संसाधनानि विनष्टानि भवन्ति तथा सामाजिक संबंधेषु तनावस्य स्थितिः समुत्पद्यते। अतः इच्छानां नियन्त्रणं न केवलं समाजस्य कृते किन्तु नैतिकतायाश्च कृते अनिवार्यं दृश्यते। बुद्धस्य विचाराणाम् एकविंश शताब्दे प्रेरणादायी पक्षः अयमपि भवति यत् अत्र सद्गुणानां विकासोपरि अत्यधिकं बलं दीयते। भगवता बुद्धेन स्वानुजायिनां कृते या आचरणसंहिता निर्मिता तत्र कष्टानां सहनक्षमतोपरि तथा च अनुशासितजीवनोपरि अत्यधिकं महत्त्वं दीयते। बुद्धेन अहंकारः अवगुणत्वेन स्वीकृतः येन व्यक्तिगतसम्बन्धोऽपि दूषितो भवति। एवमेव अहंकारेण परिवारेषु पारस्परिकसंघर्षोऽपि वर्धते। अतो अहंकारस्य त्यागः परमावश्यकः। अद्यतनसन्दर्भे एतस्य बुद्धशासनस्य महती प्रासंगिकता वर्तते। बुद्धस्य कर्मवादी सिद्धान्तोऽपि साम्प्रतिके विश्वे महत्त्वं भजते। भाग्यवादी मनुष्यो यदा कर्मकाण्डीय आडम्बरेषु बद्धो भवति तदा कर्मवादी सिद्धान्तः एव मानवकल्याणे सहायको भवति। वस्तुतः महात्मनो बुद्धस्य समग्रशिक्षायाः उपयुक्ता एकविंशशताब्दे वर्तते। यतो हि तस्य शिक्षाः देशनाश्च नैतिकतारूपेण संवेदना नैतिकता करुणा संवेदनशीलादीनां वर्धने सहायकाः भवन्ति। जनमाध्यमेन शान्त्याधृतस्य संघर्षमुक्तस्य विश्वस्य व्यवस्था सुनिश्चिता भवितुम् अर्हति। एवं मानवतावादी सिद्धान्तानां पुनः स्थापनं भवितुम् अर्हति। बुद्धस्य सिद्धान्तानुसारं शान्तिम् अतिरिच्य न कोऽपि आनन्दो वर्तते। एवमेव बुद्धस्य अहिंसा सिद्धान्तोऽपि महत्त्वपूर्णः भवति। वस्तुतः अहिंसा सिद्धान्तस्तु वैदिकः सिद्धान्तो वर्तते यः प्राणिमात्रस्य उपकारको भवति। वैदिकचिन्तनेऽपि अहिंसा परमो धर्मः इति सिद्धान्तो अङ्गीक्रियते। बुद्धस्य अंतःशुद्धि सिद्धान्तोऽपि मानवकल्याणाय महत्त्वपूर्णः। अयं च सिद्धान्तः अनैतिकं मानवमपि नैतिकं करोति। बुद्धस्य सिद्धान्तः यथास्थितिवादं न स्वीकरोति। यतो हि तन्मतानुसारं समाने नदीजले न कोऽपि वारद्वयं स्नानम् आचरितुं क्षमते। क्षणेनैव नदीजलम् अग्रे प्रवहति तथा मानवशरीरेपि तावता कालेन सूक्ष्मपरिवर्तनानि बहूनि भवन्ति। वस्तुतः एतत् सिद्धान्तेन जातिवादसम्प्रदायवादादीनां समाप्तिः सम्भवति। बुद्धस्य मतानुसारं शान्तिः अन्तःस्थलात् आयाति। क्रोधेन सह समेपि नकारात्मकविचाराः विवादस्य कारणभूताः सन्ति, अतः तेषां त्यागः परमावश्यकः। अद्यतनीये भौतिकवादसमाजे बुद्धस्य आर्यसत्यानि, पञ्चशीलो मार्गः, अष्टाङ्गिको मार्गः तथा 10 पारमिताश्च विश्वकल्याणाय विश्वशान्तेश्च कृते महान् उपकारकः स्यात्। मया स्वकीयायां बौद्धदर्शनकारिकायाम् एतानि तथ्यानि कारिकामुखेन परिशीलितानि। तासु कानिचन एव श्रावयिष्यामि। 4 चार्यसत्यानि, मार्गाश्चाष्टाङ्गिकाः पुनः, एवं च पञ्चशीलानि 10 पारमिताः क्वचित्। आर्यसत्यानि कानि भवन्ति? आदौ धर्मोपदेशे च तथागतेन धीमता 4 चार्यसत्यानि प्रोक्तान्येव विशेषतः। तानि च दुःखं, दुःखकारणं, दुःखनिरोधः, दुःखनिरोधमार्गः। कारिकायां संसारः दुःखपूर्णोऽस्ति, सर्वथा नात्र संशयः, बहुविधानि दुःखानि स्थानकालप्रभेदतः, जन्मनि चाथ वार्धक्ये जराव्याधिप्रसङ्गतः, इष्टाप्राप्तौ तथा निष्ठे प्रियवियोगकारणात् सर्वत्र सन्ति दुःखानि, विशिष्य मरणे पुनः। कुतः सुखं, कुतः शान्तिः, दुःख विध्वंसमन्तरः। तृष्णैव स्वीकृता लोके दुःखस्य मूलकारणं, विनाशे कामनानां च दुःखं विनश्यति स्वतः। दुःखनिरोधः। साधनानि च सन्त्यष्टौ दुःखनिरोधहेतवे मार्गाश्चाष्टाङ्गिकाः प्रोक्ताः तृष्णामुक्तिप्रसङ्गतः। दुःखनिरोधमार्गाः के? दुःखनिरोधमार्गाश्च तृष्णामुक्त्या च संयुताः। प्राप्य चाष्टाङ्गिकान् मार्गान् तृष्णामुक्तिर्भवेत् क्वचित्। बौद्धधर्मे प्रसिद्धं तु आर्यसत्यचतुष्टयं, तत्र साधनभूताश्च मार्गाश्चाष्टाङ्गिकाः पुनः, तेऽपि मार्गाः भवन्त्येव दुःखनिरोधसाधकाः। अतः साष्टाङ्गिकाः मार्गाः बुद्धेन सम्प्रवर्तिताः। सम्यक् दृष्टिर्भवेदेकः, सम्यक् संकल्प एव च, सम्यक् वाचा च कर्मान्तः, सम्यक् आजीव एव हि, सम्यक् स्मृतिर्भवेदेतन्यः, सम्यक् व्यायाम एव च, तत्रैवं चाष्टमो मार्गः सम्यक् समाधिरेव हि। अनन्तरं मया सम्यक् दृष्टिः कीदृशी भवति, सम्यक् संकल्पः कीदृशो भवति, मया तत्र प्रतिपादितं, परन्तु समयः तत्र न प्रस्तूयते। अष्टाङ्गिकमार्गः। पुनश्च पञ्चशीलानि भगवता च बुद्धेन तदनुजायिभिः पुनः पालनं पञ्चशीलानां कर्तुं शिक्षा प्रसारिता। अहिंसा स्तेय एवात्र, तथा परिग्रह पुनः, तथा अपरिग्रह। अहिंसा स्तेय एवात्र, तथा परिग्रह पुनः, सत्यं मादकतानाशः, पञ्चशीलानि तानि वै। अहिंसा किं भवति, अस्तेन किं भवति, अपरिग्रहणे च किं भवति इति भवन्तः सर्वे जानन्ति। तत्र कारिकामुखेन तत्र प्रतिपादितमस्ति, परन्तु तत्र समयावधि तेषां विस्तारः नैव दीयते। एवमेव सत्यं भवेत् यदा विरामोऽत्र चासत्यभाषणस्य वै, चतुर्थशीलमेवैतत् सत्यनाम्ना विधीयते। ग्रहीष्यते विरामश्चेत् मादकद्रव्यसेवनात् पञ्चमशीलरूपेण तस्याभिधानमेव हि। एवमेव ब्रह्मविहारविषये प्रोफेसर् रामनन्दन सिंह महोदयेन आलोकपातः कृतः। 10 पारमितानां विश्वशान्तिप्रसङ्गे महती भूमिका वर्तते। तद्विषये अस्माकं पूर्ववक्तृभिः प्रतिपादितं, यथा मैत्री, करुणा, मुदिता, उपेक्षा, शान्ति इत्यादयः पारमिताः विश्वशान्ति महत्वपूर्णाः भवन्ति। अतः अधिकम् अनुक्त्वा विश्वे शान्तेः प्रतिष्ठायै समर्थं बुद्धशासनं एकविंशशताब्देऽपि सार्थकमस्ति सर्वथा इत्येवम् उक्त्वा विरमामि विस्तरात्। धन्यवादाः। लेकिन सर अनम्यूट कीजिए। लेकिन सर
सर आप सुन पा रहे हैं रामनंदन सर? रामनंदन जी मुझे सुन पा रहे हैं सर?
वदन्तु श्रूयते।
धन्यवादः। धन्यवादाः ज्ञानवर्धक व्याख्यानस्य कृते परमादरणीयाः बनवाली विस्वाल महोदयेभ्यः अहं धन्यवादं व्याहरामि। अस्मिन् क्रमे इदानीम् अत्र संवेदाः सन्ति। परमदैवज्ञाः अस्माकं संरक्षकाः मार्गदर्शकाः कुशलप्रशासकाः श्री कामेश्वर सिंह दरभंगा संस्कृत विश्वविद्यालयस्य कुलपतिचराः केंद्रीय संस्कृत विश्वविद्यालयस्य लखनऊ परिसरस्य निदेशकाः परम सम्माननीयाः आचार्याः सर्वनारायण जावर्याः समारोहस्य अस्य विशिष्टातिथयः ते इदानीं सादरं सविनयं प्रार्थयन्ते यत् स्वकीय उद्बोधनेन अस्मान् अनुगृह्णन्तु इति।
शरणं गच्छामि। परम सम्मान्याः अस्माकं विश्वविद्यालयस्य अद्वितीयाः कुलपतयः आचार्याः श्रीनिवास वरखड़ी महोदयः, संगोष्ठ्याः मुख्यातिथयः मेधागुड़ा महोदयः, सम्मानितातिथयः अनुरामपुंगा महोदयः, अस्माकं मित्राणि विशिष्टातिथयः प्रोफेसर बनवाली विश्वाल महोदयः, संगोष्ठ्याम् अस्माकं बौद्धदर्शन विभागस्य आचार्यचराः पूर्वनिदेशकाः प्रोफेसर विजय कुमार जैन महोदयाः, संगोष्ठ्याः संयोजकाः परिसरस्य आचार्याः बौद्धदर्शन विभागस्य अध्यक्षाः महान्तो विद्वांसः बौद्धदर्शनस्य आचार्याः रामनंदन सिंह महोदयाः, बौद्धदर्शनस्य विस्तृताः विद्वांसः अभ्येश कुमार चौबे महोदयाः, मित्राणि गुरुचरण सिंह नेगी महोदयाः, निदेशकवर्याः सुकांत सेनापति महोदयाः, अस्माकम् अन्येषां परिसराणाम् आचार्याः छात्राः अन्ये च श्रोतारः, वयं जानीमः यथा अस्माकं कुलपतिवर्यैः उक्तं भगवान् शंकराचार्यः वदति एतत् बुद्धावतारो यथा रामावतारः कृष्णावतारः वर्तते तथैव बुद्धावतारो अपि वर्तते। एतत् औदार्यं शङ्करस्य मन्ये विश्वस्मिन् सामञ्जस्य समन्वयात्मकस्य मतस्य प्रायः एकमेव उदाहरणं प्रतिभाति। एकत्र नास्तिकदर्शनमिति मत्वा बौद्धदर्शनस्य चर्चा भवति, किन्तु आस्तिकदर्शनस्य मूर्ध्नि यः स्थितः भवति स बुद्धावतारः अस्ति। यथा रामावतारः कृष्णावतारः तथैव बुद्धावतारः इति स्वीकरोति। इतोपि शान्तेः व्यवस्थायाः सामञ्जस्य च उदाहरणं कुत्र प्राप्तुं शक्यते। यन्मतं भगवतः शङ्करस्य तन्मतं यदि अद्यतनीयं विश्वं स्वीकुर्यात् तर्हि विश्वे अशान्तिः नैव भवितुमर्हति। इतोपि अधिकं मूलमन्त्रं शान्तेः कृते नास्ति जगत्। बौद्धदर्शनम् अङ्गीकृत्य यानि च वचनानि अस्माभिः श्रूयन्ते तानि सर्वाण्यपि वचनानि केवलम् अनात्मवादं परित्यज्य उपनिषत्सु प्राप्यन्ते। भारतीयदर्शनेषु ये विषयाः वर्णिताः, ये च सिद्धान्ताः अस्मदीयैः ऋषिभिः प्रतिपादिताः, ते सिद्धान्ताः भगवता बुद्धेन स्वकीये उपदेशे यथावत् प्रतिपादिताः। वयं जानीमः रागद्वेषविवर्जितः अस्माकं सिद्धान्तः भवति। रागद्वेषविवर्जितः यः सिद्धान्तः भवति तं सिद्धान्तं यदि अद्यत्वे वयं पालयामः विश्वे अशान्तेः अवसरः एव न आगच्छेत्। अपि च आत्मानुशासनस्य भगवतः बुद्धस्य उपदेशः वर्तते। उपनिषत्सु अपि आत्मानुशासनस्य उपदेशः वर्तते। आत्मानुशासनं क्रियते चेत् अशान्तेः अवसरः एव नायात्। अद्यत्वे सम्पूर्णे विश्वे यदि क्वापि अशान्तिः दृश्यते तत्र हेतुः आत्मानुशासनस्य अभावः प्रतिभाति। उपनिषत्सु क्रोधस्य विषये महती चर्चा कृता वर्तते। न केवलम् उपनिषत्सु संस्कृतवाङ्मये सर्वत्रापि क्रोधस्य महती चर्चा अस्ति। क्रोधः किं करोति? क्रोध एव कारणं भवति अशान्तेः। अस्माकम् आस्तिकदर्शने सिद्धान्तः भवति, अस्माकं ऋषयः वदन्ति यदि कश्चित् जनः एतत् चिन्तनं कुर्यात् यत् कस्यचित् जनस्य प्रतिदिनं जन्म भवति। अद्य दिनं जातम्, अद्य मम पुनर्जन्म अस्ति इति तद्दृष्ट्या अद्य किं करणीयं तत् चिन्तनम् आवश्यकं। ह्यः किं कृतं तस्य चर्चा न कर्तव्या इति अयं यः सिद्धान्तः वर्तते तत् सिद्धान्तम् अनुसृत्य यदि चलामः तर्हि विश्वे अशान्तेः अवसरः एव नागच्छेत्। वस्तुतः सम्पूर्णे जगति समस्याः दृश्यन्ते। समस्याः आश्रित्य जनाः परस्परं कलहं कुर्वन्ति। यदि समस्यायाः समाधानम् अस्ति, चिन्तायाः अवसर एव नास्ति। भगवतः बुद्धस्य वा भवतु, उपनिषदां वा भवतु, एक एव सिद्धान्तः, समस्यायाः समाधानम् अस्ति चेत् चिन्तायाः प्रयोजनं नास्ति। समस्यायाः समाधानं नास्ति चेत् चिन्ता करणेन लाभः नास्ति। उभयत्रापि एक एव सिद्धान्तः प्रतिभाति। यदि चेत् विश्वे काचित् समस्या अस्ति, यां समस्याम् आश्रित्य जनाः कलहं कुर्वन्ति, परस्परं संघर्षस्य स्थितिः आयाति, तर्हि समस्यायाः समाधानं कर्तव्यम् अस्ति चेत्, नास्ति चेत् तर्हि यदि काचित् तादृशी समस्या अस्ति यस्याः समाधानं नास्ति, तर्हि कलहस्य प्रयोजनमेव नास्ति। यतोहि कलहेनापि तस्याः समस्यायाः समाधानं न भवितुमर्हति। अपि च अस्माकम् उपनिषत्सु यः एकः सिद्धान्तः भगवतः बुद्धस्यापि उपदेशे स एव सिद्धान्तः अस्माभिः दृश्यते कि शान्तिः अन्तःकरणे भवति सर्वत्र। मनसः चाञ्चल्यं यदा स्यते तदानीं शान्तेः अनुभवः भवति। शान्तिः कुतश्चित् बहिस्थात् नायाति, शान्तिः स्वस्मिन्नेव तिष्ठति सर्वदैव। मनसः चाञ्चल्यं यदा स्यते तदा कि नाहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्याम्, मामा ब्रह्म निराकरोतु। बौद्धदर्शनस्य सिद्धान्तः वा भवतु वैदिकदर्शनस्य सिद्धान्तः वा भवतु
ज्ञापनस्य क्रमः वर्तते। अस्य कृते प्रार्थयन्ते कुशलप्रशासकाः, सर्वदर्शनविशारदाः, सर्वदर्शनविभागाध्यक्षाः, केन्द्रीयसंस्कृतविश्वविद्यालयस्य त्रिपुरा राज्ये स्थितस्य एकलव्यपरिसरस्य निदेशकाः, परमसम्माननीयाः प्रोफेसर सुकांत कुमार सेनापतिवर्याः कार्तज्ञ ज्ञापनाय प्रार्थयन्ते।
श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। अद्य पुण्ये दिवसे अस्माकं केन्द्रीय संस्कृत विश्वविद्यालयस्य लखनऊ परिसरस्थ बौद्ध विभाग दर्शन पक्षतः आयोजितेऽस्मिन् आभासीय अन्ताराष्ट्रीय संगोष्ठी कार्यक्रमे मुख्यातिथिरूपेण बुद्ध शासन निरताः श्रीलंका राष्ट्रस्थिताः मेधागुड अभ्यतिसा आचार्याः ते स्वकीय मुख्यातिथिभाषणेन अस्मान् उपकृतवन्तः। अपि च मन एव मनुष्याणां कारणं बन्धमोक्षयोः इति यत् तत्त्वं वर्तते, मनसा नियन्त्रणं भवति चेत् तथैव शान्तेः उदयः भवति, परिवारत एव शान्तिः भवति, परिवारे शान्तेः यदि उत्थानं भवति, शान्तिः तत्र उदिता भवति, तदानीमेव समाजे समाजतः राष्ट्रे राष्ट्रतः विश्वे इति तेषाम् उद्बोधनमासीत्। तादृशानां शान्तितत्त्व परिपूरितानाम् आचार्याणां भाषणं सर्वेषां विश्वजनानां पाथेयभूतम् इति वयम् आशास्महे। अतः तेषां कृते अस्माकं विश्वविद्यालयपक्षतः कार्यक्रमपक्षतः अहं हार्दं कृतज्ञतां विनिवेदयामि। वस्तुतः एतादृशस्य महान् कार्यक्रमस्य आयोजनं येषां निर्देशने, येषां मार्गदर्शने, येषाम् आधिक्ये च प्रचलति ते भवन्ति अस्माकं बहुमुखी प्रतिभासम्पन्नाः, अस्माकं परमप्रियाः, परम आदरणीयाः विद्वत्कुलपतयः आचार्य श्रीनिवास बरखेडी महोदयाः, येषाम् आधिक्ये कार्यक्रमोऽयं सुसम्पन्नः अभवत्। इतोपि अग्रे अद्य रात्रौ पुनः वर्तते। अतः एतेषां कृते आचार्याणां कृते वयं सर्वेषां पक्षतः कार्यक्रमपक्षतः आधमन्यं कृतज्ञतां च आविष्कुर्मः। एवम् अस्मिन् कार्यक्रमे विशिष्टातिथिरूपेण विद्यमानाः समाहूताः श्रीलङ्का प्रशासनस्य पुरातत्त्वविभागस्य निदेशकाः मान्याः अनुरा मनतुंगा महोदयाः, ये अस्माकं मित्रवर्याणां आचार्य रामनन्दन सिंह महोदयानाम् अभिन्नं मित्रं वर्तन्ते। तेषामपि भाषणम् अत्यन्तम् उपादेयं प्रेरकं च आसीत्। अतः एतादृशेन उत्तम भाषणप्रदानेन अनुगृहीतवतां श्रीमताम् अनुरा मनतुङ्गमहोदयानां कृते विश्वविद्यालयपक्षतः सर्वेषां पक्षतः अहं हार्दं कृतज्ञतावचनम् आविष्करोमि। अस्मिन् कार्यक्रमे अस्माकं मध्ये विराजमानाः विद्वत् तलजाः विशिष्ट अतिथयः श्री कामेश्वर सिंह दरभंगा संस्कृत विश्वविद्यालयस्य कुलपतिचराः, अस्माकं सम्प्रति केन्द्रीय संस्कृत विश्वविद्यालयस्य लक्ष्मणपुरी परिसरस्य निदेशकाः, अस्माकं सर्वेषां मार्गदर्शकाः, सुशासकाः, अग्रजाः, सर्वनारायण झा महोदयाः, तेपि समन्वयात्मकं बौद्धदर्शनस्य भाषणम् अत्र प्रस्तुतवन्तः। यत् भाषणं छात्रैः अवश्यम् अनुकरणीयं, तद्विषये अग्रे जिज्ञासापि करणीया। अतः वयं तेषां कृते प्रणतिपुरस्सरं हार्दं कृतज्ञताम् आविष्कुर्मः। एवं शुकवयः ये शाब्दिकाः दार्शनिकाश्च अस्माकं केन्द्रीय संस्कृत विश्वविद्यालयस्य शैक्षणिक निदेशकाः आचार्य वनमाली विश्वाल महोदयाः, येषां सर्वेषु विषयेषु गतिः अप्रतिहता वर्तते। तेषां बौद्धकारिका मया बहु वर्षेभ्यः पूर्वं पठिता आसीत्। अत्यन्त सुललितभाषया तैः सा कारिका रचिता वर्तते, सः ग्रन्थः रचितः वर्तते। तेपि बुद्धशासनम् एकविंशशताब्दौ कथं विश्वशान्तिः कृते उपादेयमिति सप्रसंगम् अत्र प्रस्तुतवन्तः। अतः तेभ्यः अपि वयं प्रणतिपुरस्सरं हार्दं कृतज्ञताम् आविष्कुर्मः। एवम् अन्ये अस्माकं मित्राणि ये कार्यक्रमस्य मुख्य संयोजकाः, कार्यक्रमस्य उद्देश्यं च उद्बोधितवन्तः, समागतेभ्यः विद्वद्भ्यः स्वागतं च कृतवन्तः, ते भवन्ति अस्माकं मित्रवर्याः आचार्य रामनंदन सिंह महोदयाः। तेषां कृते वयं प्रणतिपुरस्सरम् अस्य कार्यक्रमपक्षतः धन्यवादं ज्ञापयामः। एवं एकलव्य परिसरे कार्यरताः बौद्धदर्शनविभागस्य अध्यक्ष आचार्य अवधेश कुमार चौबाई महोदयाः, येषां बौद्धदर्शने गतिः असाधारणी वर्तते। तेषाम् अत्र कार्यक्रमस्य कारणतः ते धन्यवादार्पणे उपस्थिताः न सन्ति। अत्र कश्चन विशिष्टकार्यक्रमः बुद्धमन्दिरे चलति, राधानगरस्थित बुद्धमन्दिरे त्रिपुराराज्ये। अतः तेषां कृते अपि वयं कृतज्ञतां निवेदयामः। अस्य कार्यक्रमस्य सुचालकः सुसञ्चालकः विद्या विनय संपन्नः अस्माकं मित्रवर्यः आचार्य गुरुचरण सिंह नेगी महोदयाः अत्यंत सुललितया भाषया सभां सञ्चालयन्तः अत्र राजन्ते। तेषां कृते अपि आधमन्यं प्रकटयामः, धन्यवादं च आविष्कुर्मः। एवं बहवः अस्मिन् कार्यक्रमे प्रत्यक्षेण परोक्षेण च सम्पृक्ताः सन्ति। सर्वेषां कृते एकेनैव तत्र वाक्येन एतत् वक्तुं सूचयितुम् इच्छामि। सर्वेषु कार्येषु अपि संगोष्ठ्याश्च निरीक्षिताश्चापि अनिरीक्षिताये कृतोपकारा विलसन्तु सन्तः, तेभ्यो महद्भ्यो मम धन्यवादाः। जयतु संस्कृतं, जयतु भारतम्। नमो नमः।
कार्तज्ञ ज्ञापनाय परमादरणीयाः आचार्येभ्यः सुकांत कुमार सेनापतिवर्येभ्यः प्रणाम पुरस्सरं धन्यवादान् व्याहरामि। अन्ते स्वस्ति वाचनं भविष्यति। बौद्ध शब्दावल्याम् अनुमोदना इति परिणामना इति शब्देन व्याक्रियते। इदानीं स्वस्ति वाचनं करोमि पाली भाषया। भवतु सर्वमङ्गलं रक्षन्तु सर्वदेवता सर्वबुद्धानुभावेन सदा सोद्धि भवन्तु ते। भवतु सर्वमङ्गलं रक्षन्तु सर्वदेवता सर्वधम्मानुभावेन सदा सोद्धि भवन्तु ते। भवतु सर्वमङ्गलं रक्षन्तु सर्वदेवता सर्वसङ्गानुभावेन सदा सोद्धि भवन्तु ते। अनेन प्रकारेण इदानीम् अध्यक्ष महोदयानाम् अनुमत्या व्याख्यान कार्यक्रमस्य अस्य सम्पूर्ति जाता इति उद्घोषयामि। सायं 8:00 बोधिचर्या अवतार पारायणं भविष्यति। सर्वेभ्यो नमो नमः।
Recording stopped.